name is Wayne Josephs. I'm the Assistant Commissioner in charge of the Criminal Investigations Branch for the JCF.
My name is Cordia Ashley. I'm a Deputy Superintendent of Police. In 2017, I was the Divisional Detective Inspector in charge of Criminal Investigations at St. James, Montego Bay.
In 2017, while I was a Superintendent of Police in charge of crime for St. James, a young, vibrant student from Green Pond,
Shineka Gray, a 15-year-old student who attends the Green Pond High School. She actually went to a funeral that Sunday, and it was a funeral of a student who died from natural cause.
After the funeral, she left and met up with a number of other students at a popular restaurant in Montego Bay. Thereafter, she left and went to take a taxi home. She was never seen again, alive again. Later that evening or that night, calls to her phone went unanswered.
Every ring that didn't answer was another stab to the heart.
Throughout the investigation, the relatives, they were very helpful. Initially, they were hopeful that they would find her alive because this child is not a child based on her history that would actually leave home and go about her business. No, she wasn't that type. So the aunt of Shineka Gray, her name is Nikeda. Nikeda from the onset was adamant that something was wrong with her. She said that this wasn't her mother's. This is not the child that she raised. So she just knew from the Sunday evening when the child didn't come home that something was wrong with her.
So when the mom didn't see her come home by a certain time, the mom called my daughter to find out if she's up here. So my daughter told her no, that she's not here. So by that point, everybody get worried and start, wonder, because she's not that type of child, she's a well-behaved child, she's not like that. So that's when the mom get worried, and in the morning, we start put it on the Facebook that she's missing and all of that,
No screams, no trace, just the feeling that something was wrong.
The following day, Monday the 30th of January, a missing person report was filed at the Freeport Police Station by family members of young Miss Gray, and an immediate investigation commenced.
So, having received the report, there was a team that that initiated investigations into the missing person, and it was done properly.
After she was reported missing, an Ananda alert was activated. The following day, a flash alert also, and the flash alert is a collaboration between, family, friends, the police. They went out in the public with photograph of Shenika, a telephone number asking the public to assist.
Statements were recorded and publication of the missing person was done. The phone number of Shenika was ascertained and an application made to CFCD for call trace and other analysis to be done.
There was a call that came in to the aunt of Shenika of somebody pretending to be, well, at the time she thought it was Shenika, a distress call.
Help me, please.
At that time, there was a ray of hope that she was alive. And so the aunt contacted the police.
CFCD application was again made on this new information, Further information obtained from CFCD led to an operation that was conducted in the Kathleen Mount area of St. James, where a female was arrested and taken into custody. This female was interviewed, her phone confiscated, and the investigation realized that this was a prank call. On Wednesday of that same week, an update was received from CFCD that the SIM card of the victim's phone was placed into another phone, and this phone belonged to a female in Bamboo District, Hanover.
The cell phone of the child was found a few days after in Hanover, and Detective Inspector, well, he was a detective sergeant then, Clive Wright, he led on that aspect of the investigation.
The following morning, information received as to the location of Shineka's phone in Bamboo, Hanover. The team went back to Bamboo where the phone was retrieved and further statements collected.
So when they found the phone, they actually found the phone with a relative of the suspect, Morrison, and the relative told them where she got the phone, and Morrison was apprehended and he gave a confession.
But even at that time, we were still holding out hope that Shenika was still alive. The suspect, of course, denied any involvement in Shineka's disappearance.
We were racing against a clock we did not set.
Later that same day, our worst fears were realized, because the body of a young girl was discovered in bushes in Irwin, St. James. And the body was identified to be that of Shineka Gray. It was discovered with multiple stab wounds.
Grief ripples where laughter once echoed.
I was adamant that we had to solve it because after we found the body and we realized that well, this is not a missing person, we were not going to find, she's not alive, she's dead.
Having discovered the body, immediately our crime scene investigators converged on the scene and processed the scene for any evidence that we could find to link the perpetrators to the crime. So a diligent processing took place, and a number of items were collected from the scene, to include DNA samples, as also a used condom that was found at the scene.
She was 15, and they left her like trash.
So the following day, Maria Morrison, who was already in custody, was re-interviewed by the investigators. And at this time, the police had much more. And so when he was confronted with overwhelming evidence, he decided to confess. And so we afforded him legal representation, and he gave a confession.
The things that Morrison said in the interview, at one point I felt like I wanted to get up and leave, but I couldn't, because he was actually speaking to me. He wanted to tell his story, and the sordid details of the case, of what actually happened, what they did after. I just couldn't believe that human beings would actually do that to a child. So I had to sit and I listened, and we ensured that it was video recorded.
Coming out of this confession, we learned that there was another individual that was also involved in the commission of the crime. As a matter of fact, Morrison told us that he himself did not participate, but that it was the other individual, Gregory Roberts, who had brutally raped and stabbed Shenika to death. We also learned from his confession that the murder was actually captured on camera, as during the commission of the crime, Roberts had given his phone to Morrison to record it while he stabbed Shenika to death. Morrison claimed that, of course, that he was only an observer and he did not participate while the murder was being committed. So in order to be sure that Morrison was actually involved in this murder, what we did, we took Morrison and placed him in a motor vehicle and told him to take us to where the crime scene was. Because at that time, the only way Morrison could have taken us to that crime scene is if he was actually there, because there was no news about it out there, and it was in bushes. And so he took the team of investigators from where they had picked up Shenika in Montego Bay along Barnett Street, and the route that they drove. And most importantly, when he took the police to the scene, he was able to point out exactly where in the bushes Shanika's body was, and even the direction that the body was lying on the ground. So we were convinced that this person must have been a part of the commission of this crime. So the investigation actually led us to as far as St. Thomas, where the second suspect, Gregory Roberts, was apprehended. But fortunately for the investigators, when Roberts was apprehended, he still had in his possession the telephone that was used to record the gruesome murder.
I mean, the sciences, the cell site analysis, that is what led us to Gregory Roberts in St. Thomas. So though the investigation started in Western Jamaica, we actually ended up in St. Thomas, effecting an arrest. And we found, not Morrison, Roberts. When we found him in St. Thomas, he actually had the phone in his possession. That is why I marvel at what the persons at the Communications and Forensics Department can do, because when we found the phone, Roberts thought that he had deleted the video, but we found a thumbnail, and it was a picture of a hand with a knife and the child's clothing that she was wearing. That picture that we saw circulating, the leopard dress, that was what was captured on it. So the persons at the lab, they were able to actually give us the date stamp, time and date that this video was actually done, and so that added more to the evidence that we had.
In the shadows of their statements, the full horror came to light.
The two accused persons, they actually picked her up in a vehicle that she thought was a taxi, and they drove with her. That is what the investigations revealed, that they drove with her to an area in the town of Montego Bay that's in close proximity to Pier 1. And this is in a confession that we got from one of the accused persons, Mario Morrison. They were planning on killing the child because it was a sacrifice. Those were his words, not mine. And these two accused persons, they actually met in jail, Mario Morrison, Gregory Roberts, and they took her to the area beside Pier 1, where they decided that they weren't going to do it there, and drove to a bushy area in Irwin, that's in Tucker, or St. James, where they killed her.
We were satisfied that we had enough evidence to charge both of these individuals for the murder of Shenika. And so they were both charged for the murder.
I'm happy to say that within a week after we commenced investigation into the murder, we had both suspects in custody. One cooperated with the investigations, that is Morrison. He appeared remorseful when he was interviewed, and he gave a story.
Science had the final word. and it spoke with finality.
And of course, we did our investigation and we found that some of the things that he told us was actually true, not all. Because of course, what Morrison didn't tell us the truth about was the role that he played in the crime. He denied participating. He actually told us that he was just a bystander. But the sciences proved otherwise, because when the exhibits that were found on the scene were taken to the lab and comparison was done with Mario Morrison, we realized that he did more than just do a video like he proclaimed. He was the one who actually raped the child, because his DNA was found on the condom that we found on the scene.
Justice came slowly, but it came.
The man convicted for the murder of 15-year-old schoolgirl Shineka Gray was today sentenced to life imprisonment.
In 2022, Mario Morrison pled guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment to serve 15 years before he's eligible for parole. And in 2024, Gregory Roberts, after a trial, was found guilty and was convicted and was sentenced to life imprisonment to serve 42 years and 9 months before he's eligible for parole.
In a world of noise, her name became a chant for justice.
It was one of the most horrific cases that I've dealt with in my over 25 years of investigation, because I hate when crimes are committed against children.
So I want to take this opportunity to commend the team of investigators that played a major role. Detective Inspector Cordia Ashley, who is now a Deputy Superintendent, and Detective Sergeant Rajan Ford, and a number of other persons who worked diligently on this case. The Cyber Crimes Unit, who assisted us very well. The scenes of crime persons who processed the scenes for the evidence, our intelligence operatives who gave us support in this investigation. This is testament to the kind of attention that is being paid to our people, quality and technology, with the investment in training, significant investment in training of our detectives, as also investment in technology. Why we are seeing improvement, major improvement in our investigations. Also want to offer condolences to the family, relatives of Shineka Gray, because I know this cannot be something that is easy to deal with. We are heartened though by the fact that while we could not replace Shenika, we were able to find the persons who were guilty of her murder, and that they could have been charged and they are now serving sentence. And so justice has been served and the family can put some closure to it.
She is not forgotten. Her voice was taken, but her story will speak forever.